Transfer bans are a very rare occasion in football in real life, and in fact, we actually had one last year with Chelsea in the Premier League, and they still went and signed players somehow. But anyway, I thought I'd do a nice little experiment for you today, because I was kind of curious myself of what would happen in the Premier League if every single Premier League club, not the league itself, had a transfer ban for 30 years. How far down the ladder of English football would all of these teams drop, and who would rise to the top? Who could make transfers would step up into the Premier League and dominate? And what would happen to the Big Six? I'd let you decide who's in the Big Six. Yes, welcome to the Omega Luke Gaming channel, your channel for player spotlights and tactic testers and some kind of experiments just like this one. I have set up a database where I have give every single Premier League club at the start of the season a transfer ban for 30 years. So we're going to kind of just have a look at a short term and see who still manages to dominate the Premier League, even though they can't make any signings and they have to rely on their youth system, and then have a look 30 years in the future and see if there's anyone still managing to cling on. And spoiler alert, there isn't. So before we take a look into this weird and wacky experiment, thank you very much for all your support so far at the start of Football Manager 21. If you can leave a like on this video and subscribe if you haven't done so already, that would be really appreciated. Over 70% of people haven't subscribed who are watching these videos, so I really appreciate it if we could get that number a little bit lower, and you can help me towards 10,000 subscribers. That would be super. What a lovely little Christmas present. And so this is the end of the first season. So I thought, instead of just going through the stupid stuff at the start, well, I'll just show you what happened. First season, no transfers whatsoever. Man City win the league, Chelsea second, Liverpool, Tottenham, Man United, Burnley? Yep, me neither. Chris Wood somehow was the top goal scorer too, so that's quite funny. But if we do take a look at Manchester City here, we will find, if we go to General, that they have a transfer ban until 21. That's 2100. So I've skipped 30 years in the future because that's all it really took to see some really bizarre results. So as we go through the league table there, they will all have a transfer ban of the same time. I've gone through every single team just in the Premier League. The Championship is not affected. Every team who comes up can sign players. So I'm quite intrigued to see how fast it genuinely takes. So first and foremost, I'm going to skip through 10 years just to see what that happens, really, after 10 years. I think that's a substantial time anyway. Maybe they've won a Champions League and that was quite an achievement. Maybe not. And see if anyone from the Championship or below has managed to break into Champions League football in the Premier League. Let's take a look. Well, viewers, we came back at the perfect time because the 10th season in Football Manager on this experiment is the first year that it is not won by one of the expected teams to win the league. Bournemouth are the first team to crack it. They won it by 10 goals as well. So phenomenal stuff. We see some unique names in there as well. Watford finishing in the Champions League spots. Norwich up there in 5th place. I don't think I can see any big teams that have been relegated just yet. Wolves there obviously going down. Sheffield United, 2 teams in the Premier League now. Everton almost at the drop. Liverpool down to 7th. Arsenal down to 9th. So there are teams starting to fall. But so far, the Premier League isn't at the tip. Well, it's at the tipping point of bonkers things beginning to happen. Bournemouth winning the Premier League for the first time in their history in 2031 after Chelsea dominated for 3 years. The Manchester clubs dominated for a long time. Liverpool even picking up a second Premier League there. Let's take a look. See, obviously, this is the player that has come through Liverpool's youth team. So even though he's Portuguese, you can see here, an elite striker, they're still producing the goods. They're still producing players who are able to play in this league. And that's quite interesting. And I wonder also, I'm going to check the English team to see how they do internationally. Because obviously, if all of these players are playing for their English clubs because they have no choice, they're going to develop into better players, theoretically. Obviously, it might not happen. So the FA Cup, we'll take a quick glance at that. Pretty much won by a lot of Premier League sides currently, and then Watford have won it in 2031. Champions League, let's take a look. So the Champions League is still being won by English teams. It isn't being hosted by an English team in this final, but for the 9 years prior, Chelsea have won it, Liverpool, Man City won it twice, and Liverpool won it again. So there has been a lot of English teams still winning it because obviously they still have their best players. They probably are reluctant to sell their best players and they are still playing for the club. So the fact that Chelsea managed to win the Champions League last season with almost a different side, they have the likes of Billy Gilmour still in their team. And if you think about it, Billy Gilmour, he's great in real life, but we don't know what he's going to be like in Football Manager. That's not too bad. Raymond here is obviously a youth prospect. He has 12 finishing, so somehow they've managed to win the league with a guy, win the Champions League with a guy of 12 finishing. Last season, he might not have been there, to be fair. Alan Misalu is also there. He has scored quite a few goals and got a lot of assists. So a fairly similar side that we're used to seeing. Kai Havertz has probably been running the show for a long years now, a legendary attacking midfielder since his move this season to Chelsea. So that's quite interesting how that has come about. But I think there's not enough change for me. I want to see some drastic measures. Let's go forward all the way, crank it all the way to 30 years. I just want to say as well, if you haven't done so already, please be sure to join the Discord. The link is down below. Plenty of people are now in the Discord. There's going to be tactics to download, the training schedule video, which we have planned coming up within the next week. The link to all the training schedule for Gegenpress Tactics, that's going to be in the Discord to download free. Ryan's tactics, of course, are already in there. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, and we have a Youth to Gold series starting very, very soon, viewers, on twitch.tv/Omega Gaming with Holstein Kiel. I literally cannot wait for Youth to Go to start on Twitch. So make sure the link is down below. I'll spread it across the screen here. You can see twitch.tv/Omega Gaming. Come over, drop me a follow, turn the notifications so you can see when I go live and you can follow me on the journey of Youth to Gold. Only allowed to sign teenagers, not allowed to use 30 plus euros. Well, here we are, viewers. 2051, 30 years in the future. And we can see here we have some insecure jobs at Manchester United and Manchester City. I bet they are not in the Premier League. Let's take a look at the Premier League. Wow. Okay, so here we go, viewers. There is not one Premier League side currently in the Premier League in 30 years' time. So that's kind of what I expected, although in a way not expected, because you do think that maybe they could hold on to some really good regens coming through their youth team. And obviously they can sell players, so that might be the case. They might not have had an option. But look at this. I mean, that's quite weird. Watford never drawing a game in 38 games. That's quite rare, to be fair. It has been dominated recently by Stoke. Stoke have one of the best teams in the world, by the looks of it. They won the league there very easily. The Stanley Matthews Stadium, and isn't that lovely? They actually have a real player as their manager still. Their key player is Peter here. I mean, he doesn't... legendary centre-back, okay, so he's 32. And as we can see here, he actually... This is the point, viewers. This is the point. He came through the Liverpool youth team. Lewis Peter, and he was stolen from them because they only played in the Championship in 41-42. So they sold him for £57 million. And you got to think, really, they've probably not been able to do anything with that money. 128 million, then 117 million pound for this guy at Stoke. But we don't want to dwell too much on that. Look at the teams we have in the Premier League now. This looks completely different. It just looks like the Championship. It looks like the Championship now. How many teams of the maybe Portsmouth? That is basically the Championship. So not a lot of change there. Past winners. Look at this. Dominated by every single other team other than Premier League teams since 2037. So remember, we came back here at the Bournemouth win here. The first win of its kind from a different team outside of the Premier League. Then it was dominated by the Championship clubs. Norwich, Watford went on a 4-year run. Bet Miles is happy with that one. Bournemouth clawed it back again. Tottenham stayed there or thereabouts. Manchester United was almost there in one season. Tottenham finished third, then finished top. So Tottenham finally winning the Premier League without signing a single soul for for over 15 years, viewers. They managed to win the Premier League. What an achievement that is if you think about it. You're not allowed to sign a player for 15 years and you still win the Premier League, even though every single other club around you is buying new players. So then Stoke has been absolutely dominating it with Watford a very close second. No sign of any Premier League side since Tottenham's win in the top 3. So that is quite interesting. Where are Tottenham now? They're in Sky Bet League 2. They've dropped off drastically, viewers. Drastically. They find themselves in League 2. Right, okay, well, we're not going to go straight into League 2. Let's go Championship down and just see how far they have really dropped. So the Sky Bet Championship, here we have Chelsea have dropped down there. They look like the highest standing club so far. There's no... Manchester City just been relegated. Chelsea was also the last team to win it from a Premier League side, so they have hopped up. And Manchester City there in 2044-45. But other than that, viewers, there isn't any that's popped back up. It doesn't look like it. They're all Newcastle there in 24-25, but that's going back to almost Premier League team wise. So it looks like it's just Chelsea and Man City who have managed to do that. Liverpool there managed to finish runners up, which obviously means that it pumps them back into the Premier League. Everton there about 15 to 17 years ago. So that's quite interesting. But a very different Championship team that basically just looks like League One with a couple of Premier League teams splashed about. Man City now are going to find themselves in League One. Where are the rest of the big teams? So, Sky Bet League One, and what a beautiful sight to see that Plymouth Argyle are managing to claw their way back up there. That's fantastic. Manchester United have just been relegated, finishing bottom of the league in Sky Bet League One. Incredible. We can't actually see any other Premier League side, so it does kind of look like they've all just dropped into League 2 alongside Tottenham. So their youth sides just couldn't handle it. It's kind of weird to think that maybe because of their reputation dropping, because they're not winning the Premier League anymore and all these Championship teams are winning the Premier League, the reputation of players are getting higher, that they're not attracting youth players through their youth system. So no matter how good their youth system's been in the past, they can't manage to bring them in the first place to make their team as good as these Premier League sides, and hence why they're having quite a rapid decline down the leagues. I mean, I know it's 30 years. 30 years is a long time in football. If you look back 30 years now, there are some teams in League 1 and maybe even League 2 who would find themselves in the Premier League back then, or in the top division before the Premier League came about. But 30 years when you've had Manchester United and Manchester City and Liverpool dominate the top 6 for so many years beforehand, it must be very weird to see. And obviously not being able to track these players anymore is seeing a huge decline. Okay, Sky Bet League 2 then. Let's have a look at Sky Bet League 2. Oh wow, it's worse than what I thought, viewers. Liverpool and West Ham have just been relegated to conference football. Has that ever happened before? Have they gone down yet? I want to see. So this is their league history. They've actually gone down before, viewers. So they went down a few years ago in 46-47 for the very first time in their history. They did just bounce back up, and now they find themselves at the bottom of Sky Bet League 2 once again, getting relegated. Dagenham and Redbridge managed to finish higher. We can see Aston Villa, Sheffield United, Everton there, Tottenham. So it's the last remaining clubs clawing on to league football before they take the drop into the conference, into the National League. That's outstanding to see, really. Let's have a look at all the cups then and see if they've been dominated by new teams. Well, Stoke just seem to be dominating English football completely, really. The past winners here, we can see Stoke have been there a few times, but it's Stoke, Bournemouth, Norwich, Watford again. It's those 4 teams that we've seen win the Premier League continue to win the FA Cup. funny enough, Manchester City actually managed to finish runners-up not so long ago. That's quite surprising, to be honest. Chelsea as well. But it's a long time before you see the likes of Manchester United and Tottenham. Liverpool, nowhere to be seen whatsoever since here. So that is a very long time ago. Since 2022-23 was the last time Liverpool finished in the FA Cup. They won it then 23-24 even, sorry. So there we go. That is a long, long time. Champions League football, though. Then we're going to have a look at the thing that I'm more interested in than anything, is the England national team. So the UEFA Champions League. Last season, I mean this season it's still to be played, but last season, viewers, was won by Stoke again. That's quite remarkable, to be honest. So, I mean, they finished runners-up a few years ago. The first time they won it was 2046-47, a momentous occasion for the people of Stoke. But as we can see here, you say the challenge of a club only allowed to use their youth players, Athletic Club, which is obviously Athletic Bilbao, which you might not know of, only allowed to use players from their region. So they can still buy players in technically, but they have to be from their region of Basque. They've actually managed to win the Champions League. That's an exceptional. Okay, that's really good. That is really good. That is a massive achievement for them. Fair play. Red Bull Leipzig, or RB Leipzig now, sorry, they've won it a couple of times. Bournemouth there, finishing runners-up. So that's quite interesting. But Stoke are the first team to manage to win the Champions League out of the non-Premier League clubs that we have right now. Watford, even earlier, finishing runners-up 2 years in a row to Bayern Munich. Now, that's got to be quite difficult to take. But we can see here that Chelsea finished runners-up a couple of times. Man City. Chelsea obviously were the last team to win it. We haven't seen another winner since of the Champions League until we managed to pick up a Stoke win 2045-46. So a long time for English football. Doesn't bode well. Let's see if the English national team managed to do any better. So the European Championship, viewers, it's actually been won by Scotland at one point, but England have just won it. So, to me, it is kind of a bit of a success. 2048 was the last one. They managed to win it then. Ireland finishing runners-up a few years ago as well. England finishing runners-up in 2036. The same usual clubs are winning it around there. France started the dominance there. Somehow Scotland won it in 2028. That must have been a fluke because it's Scotland. I'm sorry, Scottish fans, but I think you'll agree. I mean, you must have been over the moon to see that. But let's have a look at the World Cup. It is complete dominance by England, and runners-up was Scotland. So if you ask me, I think this actually has a big impact somehow. All I can think of is that any decent player coming through any of those big clubs that in the Premier League that we have now are just getting snapped up by the bigger clubs who are allowed to sign players and then getting nurtured into the best players in the world. Because, I mean, England won the World Cup in 2022, which obviously is all of the original players that we have in the game. Scotland won it in 2030. So not only have they won the Euros, they've also won the World Cup, viewers. And they just finished runners-up. England have won it back-to-back. Then Italy took one World Cup away from them before they could get a third in very quick succession in 2050, which has just happened. I'm curious, let's have a look for you Scottish fans. We can't see any of the no manager or anything like that, but this is your best player. He is unbelievable. He is unbelievable. He's contracted to Barcelona, of all clubs. He come through the Crew. He played for Crew. He also played for Stoke and played for Watford, the two teams that keep coming up, and Norwich, to be fair. 48 million, 30 million, 53 million. But he is an elite attacking midfielder for Barcelona. He has so much flair and vision. What a player he is, to be honest. That's quite interesting. Let's take a look at the English team, because I did see something. I don't know if you guys seen it too. But Frank Lampard is the English manager, and I love that. Frank is now 72, by the way. He looks great for 72. Fair play to you, Frank. But what a manager he is. Has he been manager for a long time? I'm curious to see that. So jobs-wise, he was hired as the Leipzig manager. He was Chelsea manager till 2036. 2036 he held on to that job. He almost did a Fergie, if you ask me. He took over Leipzig for a long time there, hired as Leipzig manager 2037 because he was sacked finally from Chelsea. Then he was hired as the England manager in 2047 because he resigned after 10 years at Red Bull Leipzig. He resigned, and we've seen Leipzig win the Champions League in that time as well. So he has been manager for the last 4 seasons, and he has won 2 World Cups and the Euros. I think it's easy to say that Frank Lampard is probably the best manager in the world right now. He's won European Championships, he's won World Cups, he's won the DFB Pokal, he's won Champions Leagues. What a manager we have on our hands here at Frank Lampard. Fair play. Charlie Harrison is their key player. He plays for Watford, an elite winger at the age of 29. Let's take a look at this England side a little bit more, shall we? If we just have a look at some of their players. Steve Smith, £69 million, plays for Norwich. Kevon Williams, that's a weird way to spell Kevin. He plays for Bayern Munich. He's also an elite winger. So a lot of these players just play for different clubs now. They just play for... can we change it? Yeah, we can change... Here we go, look. We change it from the view and we can see there's not a lot of English clubs who own these players now, which obviously in this day and age is the norm, and it's very rare for a club. Maybe only Dortmund are the only team buying young English players, with the likes of Jadon Sancho and Jude Bellingham only recently moving to Germany. So I think this experiment has been bonkers. So there we have it then, viewers, something a little different, and I think you would agree that is really bizarre, some of the results that we have seen there. I hope you enjoyed it and found it interesting, to say the least. If there's other things that you would like me to try, please feel free to let me know down in the comments. There's loads of different experiments and funny stuff I'd love to try and do on the channel, so let me know any of your thoughts or any of your ideas down in the comment section below. Please, if you did enjoy it, remember to drop that like button. It's free. It literally takes 2 seconds, but it also means a lot to content creators. It really helps you through the YouTube algorithm. If you have come to this channel for the first time, or you just keep coming back but you haven't subscribed yet, please may you consider subscribing and help us get to 10k. That will be fantastic. There's plenty more videos coming out in the future that you might enjoy, whether it be like this or whether it be tactic videos, player spotlights, everything like that. I'll see you on Twitch for the You To Go live stream, and I'll see you very soon for another video here on Omega Loot Gaming. Bye bye.